welcome to First Dates and Soulmates, where hockey camp teaches a whole different kind of stick handling. I am your host, Meg Casebold.
And I'm Nikki McKnight.
And today, to finish up our Back to School series for the month of September, we are talking about two books. We're talking about The Deal by Elle Kennedy and Him by Elle Kennedy and Sarina Bowen. So, hey, Nikki, how you doing?
Good. There's so much hockey. I feel very Canadian.
This is maybe the most Canadian thing you've done all month.
It's true. It's true. Very much so.
Well, we decided on these two books I'll say it a different way. We decided on these two books because they are, sometimes we like to look at the different MM versus MF approach to a similar relationship or topic. And these are both really well-ranked, well-respected books within the new adult college adjacent space. So I thought it would be really interesting to compare them as two books by the same author or one of the same authors to say, how are these two books different and how is their legacy so lasting? So had you read either of these prior to this recording? Okay.
I knew of them. I'm not a sports romance person. As I read the summaries for both of these, honestly, I read these yesterday because I just kept putting them off. I was like, I'm not interested in these. I'm not. This is not something that's on my TBR list. I could take it or leave it. And I will say I liked Him, but it was extremely stressful to read. So I'll say I did not enjoy it. I did not enjoy reading Him. Then I went and read the sequel, Us, which I liked a little bit more. And I did like The Deal. I actually surprised myself by how much I liked the characters in The Deal. So overall, good to knock it off my TBR list because as we've kind of talked about these books in the past and other people have mentioned to us, this is a very popular book. Both of these are, especially Him, it shows up forever. And what I kind of saw on Reddit was for most folks, this was their first foray into queer romance. So I kind of, it was nice to add to my list of completed reads.
It's so interesting that you say, especially Him, because The Deal has almost 10 times as many reviews.
Does it really?
It has 120,000 versus 15,000.
Both of those are still very impressive.
Still very, very impressive. Both books came out in 2015, which is shocking.
I don't like thinking about the passage of time. No, they came out 2 years ago. 1970 was 30 years ago, and I shan't hear any arguments.
Well, the reason I'm surprised about it is I didn't realize that they were both 10 years old, that they're both celebrating their 10-year anniversary. But they're both still in the top 100 for their categories. So
and to throw back to our SEO episode, what are their categories? Do you remember offhand?
I absolutely know their categories, ma'am. So let me pull this up. Hold on a sec. Damn it. I just had it here. Well, I had it in another window, so I'll just look it up all over again. So The Deal is still number 2 in sports romance. It is currently ranking number 1 in new adult and college romance. It has been out for 10 years. And it is still number 1 and 2 in that. And when I looked it up last week, when I looked it up the week before, when I was like, oh, wow, this is still holding strong. And like I said, it has 126,000 reviews versus the other sports romances are all in the 1,700, 4,000. It has such staying power. All 5 of the books in the off-campus series are also in the top 50 for sports romance, new adult romance. It is the textbook for how to write a new adult sports romance. And then to hear you say oh, but I hear Him referenced everywhere is fascinating to me because the saturation of so many people have read this is there, but the queer space is just so much smaller.
Had you've read both of these before, right?
I had read both of these, and I did not like them as much on my first read as I did this time reading them for the podcast.
When did you read them? I know you're newer to romance, so I'm assuming it was not 10 years ago when they first came out. But
no.
Do you remember approximately?
But probably they were fairly early in my romance reading, and I think part of the reason that I didn't like them as much is because they were so young.
Yeah,
And
like 22, 24,
yeah,
21.
I just get really mad at new adult characters because I'm like, damn you and your unformed prefrontal cortexes. Stop taking this so seriously. And also, like, college drama is not my favorite drama. And so I think I let my own biases sort of temper the way that I felt about the characterization and portrayal and writing versus reading it now, having read many more sports romances, many more college romances, many more queer romances. I'm like, oh, I see that this is the blueprint. This is the blueprint that so many other people have followed. And so I read The Deal, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. And then I read him, same. But then I actually went back, before you and I agreed to do these two books, I went back and read him again after Eden Finley on our podcast with her was like, that was what got me into queer romance. And I was like, I wonder what it was about him that made Eden go, oh, let me go write Damon. Let me go write Maddox. Like, what was, I wanted to see the link between them because I have heard that from a lot of people is like, him was the thing. It was the doorway. It was the gateway.
Yeah.
I don't think The Deal had as much like opening of a subgenre or opening of a category in the same way, but it is like everywhere you go on Reddit, people are like, read The Deal, start there. So that's probably why I started there and probably why I sort of had a like, ew, college kids, because I just knew too many bros like this.
Yeah. I think that's hard. Like college life to me is not exactly it doesn't, not necessarily like romantic because it's not romantic, but people are fucking dumb in college. Like I was dumb in university and I just think about living in the dorm rooms and my friends who had off-campus apartments and what my schedule was like and what I was into. And for me, it was like nowhere in this do I feel enticed in any way to have a romance. So when I look at like some of the college romances, I'm just like, I don't really believe you're going to be together 2 years from now. Cause like you got to get a job.
Yeah.
You have more responsibility than you did when you were in high school, but so much less responsibilities than you will in like a year when you graduate. And my brain goes, the logistics of it all.
Well, okay, so let's talk about what is in the stories, because I think also, you know, The Deal is much more college focused versus him being a little bit like after college making that transition into new adult. So I'll do a really, really quick premise overview. The Deal is the story of Hannah Wells, who is a college junior. She passes their philosophy exam, and Garrett Graham, who is the cocky hockey team captain, fails. And so they make a deal that she will tutor him in philosophy so that way he can keep his GPA up so that he can continue to play on the hockey team. And in exchange, he will pretend to date her in order to get the attention of Justin, who is the guy that she really likes. And so it starts as this sort of tutoring, and he's the big man on campus and he can help her reputation, and then they kiss and all bets are off. So that's the deal. It's very much grounded.
That's the deal with the deal.
That's the deal with the deal. They are in class together. That is how they meet. They're in a philosophy class with this guy that she likes. She doesn't really care for Garrett. You know, they sort of have a bit of an enemies to lovers vibe going on. Versus Him by Sarina Bowen and Elle Kennedy. They co-wrote it together. It came out 4 months later, which I cannot imagine releasing 2 books of this size at this scale. But I mean, also the pool was much smaller in 2015, but I'm getting off track. Okay, so this is about Jamie. He is blindsided when his best friend Ryan Wesley ghosted him when they were in college. No, high school? They were in high school. They were at the camp together. They were at hockey camp. They continued to go to hockey camp year over year. And then they had like a slightly sexual experience. And then Ryan just disappeared out of his life. And so the book starts 4 years later. They're both college seniors. They're in the Frozen Four together, which is apparently the college final
It's like
four,
the final,
whatever.
Yeah, it's like Final Four in basketball, just for hockey as a Frozen Four.
Yes. Which I've only learned from reading enough college hockey romances. You keep hearing about the Frozen Four, blah, blah, blah. That's how much I care. Okay, so they're in the Frozen Four. They see each other again, and they sort of like regain this friendship. And Ryan realizes, oh, I actually really miss Jamie. Maybe I should go start working at the camp where he and I met, and try to be friends with him again. And then they end up being roommates, and roommates become more than roommates, but they've both been drafted to different teams. So they're both now going to be professional hockey players, one in Toronto, one in Detroit, and they have to sort of figure out what to do with that. So that to me actually feels a little bit different, because it's like you are now embarking on your life post college and have to start making some of these hard decisions. And that's where you can start to go, oh, maybe you could make it work because you're willing to sacrifice for each other. Whereas in the deal with Hannah and Garrett, it's like, well, she's a music major. You're going to be a pro hockey player. Like, how's that even going to work? And they even say like, oh, we'll figure it out. And I have not read the other books in the series. I think there are 5 books in the series total to go through each one of the guys that live in that house together. And then the final one is sort of like an epilogue for all of the characters. So maybe they do have a way to make it work.
Maybe. What both of these books really brought up for me was like the sensory aspect of things. In Canada, at Canadian universities, we have frats, but like they're not really a thing like they are in the States. And I've seen enough American Pie movies. I've seen enough teenage sex comedies to know frat houses are disgusting places. And
Nasty.
I feel like they do demonstrate that enough in that, even though Garrett also has off-campus housing. Like he has a house that his dad pays for, and he's got there, so he doesn't live full-time at the frat. He's got this other place, but that place is also really just turned into a frat. It's gross. There's sticky things on countertops, and there's crumbs, and I'm like, this is gross to me. Again, why is any of this attractive? You have roommates. Like, ugh, it's gross. And I was not a hockey player, but I played ringette for like 15 years. Like I was a very competitive ringette player. And the year before my freshman year of high school, I got into this like kind of elite ringette camp up north. And it was literally the week before classes started, so much so that my younger brother had to go to my high school to pick up my schedule because I was not there. And this was back when you had a paper schedule to figure out where to go. But this camp was a hockey camp every other week of the year. Just the last week of the season, they opened it up to ringette players. And things smell. And you're in the middle of the woods. You don't have like plumbing. It's all like it's like sewers and weird sump pumps and things. And the showers broke in the entire camp on day 2. And you had 50 teenage girls who were on the ice for 4 hours a day training, and you don't have showers. So we would all just bathe in the lake, and they got us like biodegradable shampoo type stuff so we could like,
oh my God,
clean.
This sounds disgusting.
But like, it's just this concept of you're walking on floors that haven't been swept. There are pine needles outside, and people are tracking in mud and sticks. Like, none of this makes me go, hey, do you want to fuck? None of it, Meg. Now, granted, it does take a lot for me to want to do that in the first place, but why the hell was this the location that was chosen? You said, you know what? This is going to get everybody excited.
To be fair, if we're talking about where they went to hockey camp, it is Lake Placid. It's very bougie. It's
and
not
they are
the
at
middle
an
of nowhere.
elite.
It's not
they are
woods.
at a very elite camp. I also understand that. I've seen when I was a personal trainer, I had a lot of clients that were on like minor league hockey teams, or their kids were in really elite hockey camps with like Toronto Maple Leaf players. So I know they can be super bougie and not in the woods, but I just can't stop picturing it.
Can gross. I ask a nice like little American question? What the hell is ringette?
Ringette is a sport like hockey. So I wore full hockey equipment. I was on the ice. I skated. The rules are slightly different. And instead of a stick with a blade, it's a straight stick. And instead of a puck, you have a rubber ring. So you spear the ring with your stick. Originally designed as a women's sport, I think, like in response to hockey, but it's very popular here in Canada and in Europe.
Interesting.
I
have never heard of it. I feel like I just learned something new today from this.
There you go. It's very fun. I played it for a very, very long time. I grew up in hockey arenas.
Yeah. Is it sort of like field hockey, the way that people were like, oh, that's the girls' version of hockey when like we were growing up, but like it's on.
Yeah, and then you actually play with like real field hockey players, and they can kick your ass.
Yeah, they're amazing.
That's
incredible.
Ringette. Ringette is very, very fast. It's very competitive. It's where I got my first sports nickname because I was a center and a forward for the first many years that I played. And once I got a little bit later into puberty and I didn't quite get taller, I was quite short and stout with all my hockey equipment on. So they changed me to defense, which I was much better at. But I was a freaking wall because I'm low. I'm like 5 foot, put me on hockey skates.
Your center of gravity is very low. Yeah.
My center of gravity is very low. So my nickname was Crash because people would crash into me and I don't move. So I was like the crash test dummy wall that like people would slam into. So that was my name. So yeah, I brought my boombox. I had one of those like JVC boomboxes that had like a shoulder strap. It was so large. And I brought that to every arena when I was playing at the elite level in just north of Toronto. And our pregame warm-up song was NSYNC's Digital Get Down from their No Strings Attached album. And we would all just be like in the locker room with like our sticks just kind of doing this. Digital get down. And that was like our pregame ritual. I'm very familiar with these hockey rituals. I just never played hockey.
I mean, you're hockey adjacent.
Close enough. Yes, it's true.
Yes, hockey adjacent. So, and of the time, apparently, because, yeah, these were released 10 years ago when Breaking Bad was the hottest show.
Oh my God. Passage of time. I don't like it, Meg. So I would love to get your feedback on, I'm going to call it, the initial aspect of the relationship. Now, him is unique in the fact that it does have like a little bit of a flash forward type of deal. So you're reconciling kind of different relationships and why people behaved a certain way in the past versus the present is made clear very early on. But with like Hannah and Garrett, with both Jamie and Wes, as he's known, like the starts of both of these relationships, I found very, I'm going to say weird, but it's not quite what I mean. So what are your thoughts on how these characters are like initially introduced and meeting?
I actually loved the way that each of these was set up. I thought that they were both very well done. There are certain, no, I'm not going to go in that direction. I thought that Hannah and Garrett's felt very realistic to me. Of she is not interested. She's a little bit nerdier. She's a bit more intellectual. She barely even knows who he is except other people talk about him. She's not impressed by his reputation. And he just expects everyone to fawn all over him. And so the reason he gets to know her is because he has to. She's not giving it up that easily. She's not, worshiping at the altar of Garrett Graham. So I really liked that they had a practical reason to get together, that she was clearly interested in someone else. I loved all of that. Versus, I think, with Jamie and Wes, they had a connection that they denied. They had a history from before this started. So it was a very different structure of almost like forbidden because of the queer piece. When we talked with Matt, with M.A. Wardell, was that last week's episode?
I think it was last week, yeah.
Where he was like, not everyone has to have a bi awakening, but this may have been one of those formative bi awakening books that made everyone else who's coming after it go, oh, well, this is an interesting thing to play with, where one character is queer and open and the other one is seemingly straight. And there is a little bit of that like sort of gay for you by awakening approach to it, where Ryan's just like, well, I just feel this way about Wes. But both of the straight male characters, I'm going to say in both of these books, both Ryan and Garrett, have these very not girlfriend characters. They have like fuck buddy characters. So it's interesting to me that in both of these Elle Kennedy books, it starts there. It starts with there is another woman. There is sort of an opportunity for this character to be in a straight relationship, whatever that looks like. Now, Garrett's is very much more of a like, he's sleeping with Kendra, but he doesn't want to catch feelings. He can't get distracted. And Ryan has a very similar approach with, I think it's Holly. Is it Holly?
Yeah.
Where it's like, he has a friendship with her, but he's not interested in anything larger than that. And so it sort of sets up both these characters. Garrett's a bit more of a player, but, this idea of I don't want anything serious with anybody, but I'm also straight, so I like that.
Yeah, because I was just trying to remember, because you said something about how like Wes is gay from the outset, isn't he? And it's Jamie that.
Did I say Ryan? Where did
you
my
did?
Ryan
Okay.
come from?
Well, Ryan's his first name.
That's why. Yes. No, I was talking about,
yeah.
I meant to say Jamie. I meant to say.
Okay, cool. Because that confused me. I was like, wait, I thought Wes was the gay boy and Jamie's bi. Because that becomes the thing in book 2. Because I also read book 2, which is called Us. And it's interesting how they brought that aspect of the development of their relationship back in book 2, because in book 2, Ryan's, aka Wes, is playing for the Maple Leafs. And Jamie is on a different career path, which I definitely want to talk to because that stressed me the fuck out all through book 1. But he has coworkers, and he meets up with that woman,
Holly.
Holly. He meets up with her later, and like Wes happens to be at the same bar with his teammates and sees them, and he's just like, oh, he has a moment of, oh my god, like, oh no. And then he's like, no, Jamie's with me. Like, it's fine. I feel guilty because I'm making him hide. I wish I could go over there because now his coworkers are like, oh, Jamie, hot girl, ex-girlfriend, whatever. And Jamie has a moment later in the book that he's like, I know that my bisexuality can be a stress for Wes, even if he doesn't mean it to be, because, he feels bad making me hide our relationship from the paparazzi, from the team, from the public. So I loved how they like brought that back. It just threw me for a minute with the name. I was like,
that was my bad.
Did I forget the book?
I have my notes and it says Ryan Wesley. Right underneath it says Jamie Canning. And my brain just went, oh yeah, Ryan and Wes.
Yeah, for sure. That's the two separate people.
Right. Sorry, listener. There's like way too many people between these two books that we read. Because I also read him a couple of weeks ago and then I just read The Deal again. So I think also this is a little bit of a sign of the times. I feel like writing a queer book in 2015, especially queer sports book, I think queer sports romance, and maybe you can speak to this a little more because you do read more queer, like it, or maybe it's just like the people who have been writing the books for this long are like, I am tired of writing people who are closeted or who have to stay closeted, So we just spoke with Eden where all of her characters are out. They have the gay, the queer collective in their hockey league in her newest series. So, it's much more accepted in 2025 than it was in 2015. And then I also think about like Rachel Reed has written a lot of queer hockey romance. Also shows up in those same lists that I'm talking about with queer romance, gay romance, sports romance, not the new adult. But she wrote, The Long Game, which was finally her book 1 characters finally from Heated Rivalry finally came out in book 6 of the series because it took them that long for the world to come around to having gay people in sports. And it's like, I think now we can look back on a book that's 10 years old and be like, oh, they had to stay closeted. It was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I think also we forget that is maybe what was expected 10 years ago.
I think there's still plenty of stories that have athletes remain closeted. And they're worried about coming out. They're worried about the locker room talk, like Beth Bolden's football series. It's prevalent, I think, in all of them. Even in Eden and Saxon's Puck Boy series, there are characters who are trying to keep themselves in because they don't want to deal with paparazzi. They don't want to deal with familial disappointment, especially some of the Russian players in those series. And I think Eden did bring that up, that in Russia, it's still like, it's not illegal, but it's just illegal. Yeah. So I do think it's interesting. And what I did like with him and Us is that they don't solve their relationship in book 1. They kind of get to a point of, obviously I'm going to spoil this. So Jamie gets drafted to Detroit and Wes is drafted to Toronto. Go Leafs. We haven't won a cup since the 60s. Go us. But Jamie decides that, like, honestly, he doesn't want to get drafted. He's a goalie and Detroit has a really deep goalie bench. And he's like, if I say yes, the chances of me actually playing are extremely low. I'll probably get sent down to the minors. And is that actually what I want to do? So he makes the decision to seek out a coaching job in Toronto with a minor team through his connection with the elite camp that they both go to. And he gets that. And so that's what he's doing in book 2 while Wes plays for the Maple Leafs. But, at the end of book 1, they kind of said, great, we're both going to be in Toronto. We're going to live together. We're going to make this work, but we're going to hide. And Wes says, I want to keep this under wraps until the end of my first season. I don't want this additional pressure of being a rookie and trying to establish myself with the team and find my hockey legs, as it were, and deal with that. And so they kind of agree to it. Obviously, it does not go well. That's the main drama in book 2, is dealing with that aspect of the relationship, being on the road and having to keep it secret and having to say, oh, this is my roommate, especially when one of his teammates moves into the same building and lives on a different floor, and he likes to stop by all the time to like have a beer and hang out. And they're like, well, fuck, like we can't do anything now. We have to pretend to be roommates. But I love that like that is left for book 2. So book 1 does have them kind of say, yes, we are in this. Yes, I made a decision to not get drafted and go play in Detroit. I want to go to Toronto. It's not necessarily because of you, but it's a very, very, very big bonus that probably gave me the oomph to make that decision. But I really like that they're not out at the end of it. They're out to family, really. But that's it.
I like that too, because I did not read book 2 for that reason. Mm-hmm. I did not want to wade into this relationship is hard territory. I am so much more interested in reading like every character gets their own book and I get to see the characters from the first book. Mm-hmm. Maybe they go through some growing pains, but I don't want to sit in the growing pains with them for book 2.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought book 1 was going.
The same reason that with like Alexis Hall, loved boyfriend material. Alexa, stop. Sorry to all listeners who just had me set that up.
Alexa has opinions. I don't want to bring in mine. I was like, Siri shouldn't wake up.
Here's your hot take on boyfriend material.
There you go.
But like loved boyfriend material. Then we got to husband material. And I'm like, are we still doing this? Are we still having it? And now I think like the next one to come out is father material. I'm like, I'm not going to read it because I already feel like I know what's happening. And I know that author whose name I will not say because I would re-trigger my...
the AI service on your phone.
Yeah, but there was another book series by him where I stopped reading after the second book because I was like, it's just too much like will they, won't they, will they make it work? And I'm like, I want the happy ending. And then if something else happens after that, I want to hear it from someone else's perspective. I can't sit in the discomfort for 4 books without, and you know when I can do it? I can do the same couple when it's like a romantic suspense or like a paranormal. I will stay with Kate Daniels from Alona Andrews series for 10 books, and I'll deal with the slow burn because she's also out there fighting vampires and werewolves. But when it's like, oh, it's real life that's hard, no, I have enough of that in my own relationship. I don't need to read that in someone else's book. I want the happy ending, and then I want to move on. That's
honestly why I found him to be so fucking hard to read. Because again, we've talked about romance. It has an arc. It has a typical journey. It has typical points. We understand how these things work. And maybe it's the fact that I don't enjoy sports romance that much. But as soon as I pick up a sports romance, I automatically assume where the story is going. And maybe to the detriment of my reading experience. But when I started reading him, and they're both at this camp trying to reconnect, and they've both been drafted to different teams, my immediate thought was not that they were going to get outed at this stage, but I'm like, one of them's going to get injured and won't be able to go to the pros. And I thought it was going to be Wes because he's the one that wanted it more. And then Jamie would get drafted and Wes would pick up a coaching job or similar to stay connected to hockey. But I thought that was like the emotional turmoil that they were going to have to go through was injury. And this stresses me the fuck out because I just want everybody to win. And it was so frustrating that kept coming up that I think I was 30% in, and I was like, I think it's once I found out they were both drafted and they were both on the ice. I think they recreate the infamous bet started their kind of queer relationship for the players that they were coaching. They're like, oh, do the shootout drill. I'm like, this is it. Somebody's going to blow a knee. Every single time a character moves in a sports romance, I'm like, the knee's going, the spine's going, they're getting a concussion. By the way, they have cancer. Oh my God, they're going to die. Like, that's immediately where my brain goes, and I could not enjoy it. So I had to skip to the end to figure it out.
I just read a hockey book where the injury wasn't even on the ice. It was an ex-boyfriend who drove his car into the arena and hit him. And I was like, what?
Exactly, right? That's what I keep doing. And honestly, that's even in the deal, which I loved the tension and the conflict in the deal coming from, you know, will Garrett be able to stay on the team? How is he going to deal with his feelings, which I would love to talk about. But also his dad is an abusive asshole, holding a lot of things over his head, and he starts interfering in their relationship. That, again, my thought process was he's going to get injured. And that's what he's going to have to like go through stressfully. His dad is going to assault him and he's going to be injured and he won't be able to play. Or maybe he'll lose it completely. Or maybe he'll give it all up to spite his dad. So again, but it didn't feel like as written in stone as it did for me reading him. So I didn't mind that conflict in the deal because but I just find when you have two players, I'm like, one of them is going to get fucked up. Because then that's going to cause tension for them in the relationship. Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. I can't. It's giving me the heebie-jeebies. I just want people to be happy and get what they want.
You're so cute.
Thank you. I'm adorable. Can we talk about Garrett and Hannah, please?
Yes. I was just thinking we've been spending a little bit too much time on Jamie and Wes. And I'm like, I really want to talk about Garrett and Hannah because I think that they are, you know, young knuckleheads. Right. And they're from very different backgrounds, but they do make a lot of sense. Like their chemistry is so good from the jump.
They're so good.
And I loved that they got together at about the 60% mark. And then you got to see them date for a while, too, which is nice. It wasn't like, oh, finally we're dating. And then the book ends. Like I thought that the pacing of it was really good. So where do you want to go with this?
So I want to talk about Garrett, because this is what I've discovered especially when we're reading just for the summer, the Abby Jimenez book a couple episodes back. I have discovered that if I'm going to read straight romance, which I don't do that often.
Only for me. You'll only do it for me and our
only
soulmates.
For you. Only for you and the soulmates, so we can talk about P and the V. You're welcome. I love it when he falls first and he falls bigger because holy shit. We talked about Garrett, you know, he's a frat boy, big man on campus. He's kind of cocky. And a lot of times when I see those characters, I hate them because they read to me kind of like a bully. And I'm like, where is the redemption factor here? But with Garrett, he was just so fucking fun. I see him as being this big man on campus that honestly people just want to hang out with. And I see when Elle Kennedy was talking about how people were drawn to him and excited by him, I can see why. I was like, I would totally be caught up in the atmosphere of him. And I really liked it because when he starts harassing Hannah, because, you know, in this philosophy class, when he sees that she's the only person that got like an A, almost everybody else failed because it was very theoretical and not factual, because Garrett's a history major. He likes facts. This is like interpretive and theoretical. He just kind of keeps pursuing her. And normally I don't like when this happens because I'm like, well, back off, space. She told you no. But he does it in a way that's just so fucking charming and cool. And he's like a golden retriever. I'm like, yes, you're such a good job. I love him. I love him. I'm shocked, but I love him.
There is a little bit of like tit for tat at the beginning that he expects her to take, where it's like, okay, you know, you can come hang out with me and be seen with me, and then you can tutor me. And she's like, no, I don't want to be seen with you. I don't want to tutor you in your house. I don't I don't want anyone to see you talking to me. Get away from me. Like she doesn't want to get caught up in it, so he has to get creative. And I think that's why we like it. Is he finds out where she works, and then he just goes and sits at a booth, and then she trades tables so that way she can get away from him. And then so they end up at a party, and he's like, I haven't been drinking, I'll drive you home, right? Like he has to
and she's
think
like, no,
differently.
but damn it, it's expensive and I have to wait a long time for campus transit. Like,
and he has to work for it. And I think that's one of the things that I like is Hannah makes him work for it. Even just the opportunity to be tutored, he has to work for it. And she's like, well, if you spent this time studying, then you wouldn't need me.
Might not have failed, right?
But no, that's not true because I just don't understand it. I've read it and I don't understand it. And I think the setup and the premise of it is so clever.
Especially because like the bet thing. Because a bet kind of exists in both of these, which is something I just clued into. It's not quite the same, but you know, in him, they have the shootout bet, which ended in a surprise blowjob, and that kind of caused the schism in their relationship originally. But with Hannah, it's not necessarily a bet, but it is a deal. Thus the title. Roll credits. You're welcome. But they make this deal, and normally I don't like this type of deal. It reminds me very much of 10 Things I Hate About You. It's not exactly the same, but like go date Kat so that I can date Bianca. It's not quite the same thing, but
Or the taming of the shrew, if you will.
There you go, as you will. But Hannah doesn't feel like she's getting the short end of this deal. Like, they both seem fairly equitable. But the thing I actually like the most about that aspect of the relationship, starting from this place, is, they start hooking up because, trigger warning, prior to the book, Hannah was sexually assaulted. And it's one of the reasons why she won't go home. And dealing with the trauma of her assault and of her rape is very challenging for her. So once she starts to feel comfortable with Garrett and she starts to allow herself to have a drink at an event, and then she goes a little wild, like Kat in 10 Things I Hate About You. Surprise! There we go. But she's like, will you have sex with me? I trust you. I think I want to do this. They start hooking up, but she has made this date with Justin because, of course, Garrett was totally right. If you look desirable, then other people will start to flock to you and be attractive. It's the exact same plot line of The Duff. But she makes a date with Justin for like a week or so out. And then she and Garrett kind of start hanging out. And there's some tension here. There's things that aren't being said. And Garrett is kind of more into it. And there's at least realized he's more into it. And then when a teammate of his says, hey, dude, I just want to let you know, because you and Hannah, something's going on there. She has a date with Justin this weekend. I just heard about it and I wanted to tell you. And he goes to her and was like, what the fuck? And they have this argument and he leaves the party. And she's just like, you won't even let me talk. And he's like, I can't, temper tantrum, man. Walks away. But then she goes after him and is like, no, we are having a fucking conversation about this. I just canceled the date because you're right. I want to be with you. I made that before we had our hookup. So can you please give me the benefit of a fucking doubt? And I was like, oh my God.
Can you give me 5 minutes to process before you call me out? Like, can we have a conversation? Like, and there is, when you're emotionally invested in a relationship and you feel like you have been betrayed, there is certainly a heightened emotion to it. And then you add in that they're young, they haven't had a ton of relationships, especially Garrett has not had a serious relationship and he has not known how to articulate this. He did not see this modeled in his parents. So the fact that he went to her at all to talk to her about it was the mature thing to do and not just ghost her. And then he went to talk to her. He knew he was getting too upset. He walked away. She went after him. Like, all of that was very mature for their age. And honestly, very mature.
Just in general.
I do want to go back to when you were talking about the deal and the fact that both of them got something out of it. When we were talking about fake dating and the fake dating framework, I think the first or second step in the fake dating framework is you have to come to agreement that both of you benefit from. And often that's the issue that we have with these books, whether they're some sort of bet situation or some sort of fake dating or some sort of it's an imbalance. It's a power imbalance. It's an outcome imbalance. And I really do feel like the reason why this book not only worked, but that it is so beloved is that both of them had stakes at the same tier.
And I also like, though, they both kind of shed their stakes in the same way. Garrett does, he has to maintain his GPA so he can still play, which is what is going to get him drafted. So I feel like his stakes are maybe a little bit higher if he fails to him. Maybe not to other people. But it's almost like, because I do also want to talk about his dad and that whole thing with Hannah, but it's almost like they just drop, I don't know, there's some type of release I think they both do when they decide that the bet doesn't matter anymore. And I'm just kind of figuring this out in real time because Garrett's already passed, so he's fine. But she's realized, I don't want Justin at all. I want you. So you could look at that and say he got more, but I feel like they both kind of said, oh, irrelevant. We're past it. It's fine. We're on to a new thing. What's our next bet? Let's go to the next thing.
Yeah. And here's the thing. They also both earned. They both succeeded in their end of the deal because the deal was she helps him pass the midterm. And he helps her get a date with Justin. He passes the midterm, she gets the date. So therefore, the deal is complete.
True. Very true.
And then they can choose whether she continues to tutor him through the entire semester, because this is just the midterm. Does she go on the date that she has earned? Right? But they both succeeded, and therefore the deal is complete. And I think that's another reason that it works, is because they both got what they wanted, and therefore the stakes were even. And by that point, she's like, oh, I'm driving his truck to the game. I'm sleeping over at his house. You know, they're starting to get more interconnected by that point, so that when Justin asks her out, she can be a little bit like, well, I don't know where we are. We haven't aren't a couple.
Verbalized it.
Yeah. And I kissed him. I'm sleeping with him. I'm not necessarily as attracted to Justin anymore, but like, this was the goal of this, wasn't it?
Wasn't it?
And shouldn't he be proud of me that I have accomplished the thing that he set out to help me accomplish? And she's very conflicted about saying yes to the date. And then the fact that he reacts in such a strong way is like, oh, he does care. You know, that's telling in its own way, because at the beginning of this, it was just, well, I'll help you get the date to get my midterm done.
Yeah.
And he wasn't emotionally invested in her at all.
And that's why I kind of like in the denouement sequence of this particular story that it's Hannah that kind of fucks up. So very quick summary. Garrett's dad is a famous hockey player. I think he played for the Rangers. But he was physically abusive to Garrett and to his mom before she died. He does not want to have a relationship with him. His dad is always holding over tuition and equipment. Like, he's holding money over Garrett's head to get him to behave. At some point, Garrett takes Hannah home. I think it's for Thanksgiving, and they meet his dad's new girlfriend. They find out she's being abused, and Garrett is like, oh my God, this is in me. This, I don't know. What if I hurt you? This is something I've grown up with. And Hannah kind of talks him through, like, the fact that you're worrying about this shows that it's not you. But when they're at a hockey game and Hannah sees a good friend of her attacker in the crowd, and she has like a little bit of, I don't want to say a flashback moment, but she has a moment of, oh, I was not expecting this. And she freezes, and Garrett kind of sees this and is that one of, first he says, is that him? Thinking like, is that the man who raped you? And she's like, no, it's his best friend who lied on the stand, or who lied in the depositions to get the case dropped. And he goes and he like beats the shit out of him. And gets like pulled off of him. And his first thought is, oh my God, I just told Hannah I was not that guy. And I was just that guy. And she's like, no, it's fine. So you think it's going to be like, oh, Garrett's the one that fucks up and kind of puts their relationship into that third act tension. It's going to be him. But no, it's her. Because Garrett's dad goes to her, like all manipulative parents in these types of situations, and says, break up with my son, never talk to him again, or I'm going to cut him off and he will suffer. He won't be able to work and do college. He's going to have to drop out. He won't get drafted. He'll lose everything. It'll be your fault. So she goes to him and kind of reflects back on her bet and is like, look, I think we should see other people. I want to date other people. You're the only person I've ever been with. How can I know if this is love? Because they have said, I love you at this point. And he is furious, but is like, okay, do it. And he keeps checking in with her. How many guys have you dated this week? 0. How many guys have you gone out with? 0. And he's the one that kind of keeps coming back to her saying, I know you needed space. And she just feels absolutely horrible, especially when Garrett drops the bomb of like, hey, I turned 21 in like a week. I have a trust fund.
Well, no, that's after she finally confesses.
Yes, it is after.
They both are struggling. They're both, this is the third act breakup, the third act conflict. He knows that something else happened. He's like, Hannah is lying, and I need to figure out why. At first, he thought it was because she couldn't forgive him because he assaulted somebody. And so that's sort of where he goes in the first place, is he goes into self-recrimination for the breakup, and he thinks it's his fault. But then as more time elapses, he's like, no, she's covering up for something. She's lying. I know her well enough to read her on this. And then there's she's a music major. She has this winter showcase. She goes and she performs her own song because drama. And she just breaks into tears and cries because she's thinking about him. And he sees her emotional reaction to that, and he's like, yeah,
because he showed up.
Because he showed up for her. He's not over her, but he's giving her the space. He sees her reaction. He sees how much she's struggling, and he figures something's wrong. And that's when finally she breaks down and says, your dad threatened me. And he's like, well, I wish you'd told me, because I'm no longer financially involved to my dad.
I am not concerned at all. And I kind of wish she had just had a moment of like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, you have a trust fund. Like, I wanted a little bit. It's kind of like that, oh my God, what's her name? Jennifer Lawrence, when she's on Hot Ones, going, what do you mean? What do you mean? I kind of wanted a moment like that where she realizes I should have been communicating.
Yeah.
Because she's talked to, they've had this
6 months of misery for no reason, or not 6 months, 6 weeks, but still, when you're 20, 6 weeks is a really long time, especially when it's like half your junior year. You know?
It's forever. Oh. Yeah, I also just realized that both of these books have really shitty dad characters. Mm-hmm. Like Wes's dad, he doesn't really talk to his family at all. Jamie's family became his family when they were friends at hockey camp. They even gave him a mug that they made, and on the bottom, because Jamie's mom has like a pottery studio or something, that's like, welcome to the family. Jamie loves you. We love you. And he calls her mom in book 2. And I'm like, oh my God, it's great. And then Garrett's parents are... Well, his mother has passed, but his dad is a piece of shit.
The worst.
So bad. I'm like, maybe it's just like, I think it's honestly, we see this a lot in sports romances. We have really shitty parents. There's just something about the sports version of a stage mom. Like, we got toddlers and tiaras, and we got hockey players. There's both of these things.
And I think there's an extent to which it's like, in order to be successful in some of these sports, you need to come from money or get a lot of scholarships. I think I just read a hockey romance where it was a female and male hockey player, and she played hockey until she was in college, and then she had to drop out because she didn't have the money for the equipment. And so one of his decisions as his charity is to give hockey equipment and hockey lessons to kids from low-income communities, because it's really expensive, especially when kids are growing, to get that equipment. And so I think that there's Elle Kennedy has used this, and Sarina Bowen as a co-author too. But also I think that it makes sense that often the characters who are in these, especially books where families are still very involved, they come from a legacy of my dad was an incredible hockey player. So now I have this expectation pushed on me because I have the same last name on my jersey. Or, because they come from privilege, the fact that they also have the privilege, you don't want them to have this perfect childhood and also be rich. Kind of has to be one or another.
That's just too much. I can't identify. I tell you, I didn't have brand new hockey equipment until I was like 12. The first 6 or 7 years that I played, we just went to Play It Again Sports, and I got secondhand hand-me-downs. Like even my hockey skates, they were secondhand skates. So we had to go to a cobbler who had to add extra stitching to the ankles because the skates were so worn in. There was literally no ankle support left. And the cobbler literally just like went like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth on both sides of the ankles with stitching to reinforce them so that I would have something. And I still remember when my parents bought me my first pair of brand new skates. I still have them. I still use them. And it's been 20 something years.
Because your feet finally stopped growing, probably.
Yes.
So they're like, okay, these are.
And I have to.
Okay, what's your shoe size, Nick?
8.5, 9.
Oh, you're not like I expected, like a 5 because you're so short.
No, not at all. I'm an 8.5, 9, and I have very wide feet.
Oh, my best friend is like 5'3", and she wears a size 5, and I'm like, my 10-year-old has larger feet because
that's like my aunt Lynn.
Yeah,
she's like 5'10", 5'11", and she shops for shoes in the kids department because she wears like a 4.5, 5.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
She gets all her shoes from the kids department. They're very cool and they light up and they're sparkles.
5'10", 5'11", or did you mean 4'10"?
5'10", 5'11". Much taller than me.
Oh my God. Because I'm 5'9", and I wear size 12 shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have big old monster feet.
Boats. Actually, can I show you something? People listening at home won't be able to see this, but I am wearing 6-inch platforms.
Yes, I saw these on Instagram.
Yes, I bought 6-inch platform boots, and I'm breaking them in. So I'm wearing them every day because one of them was the display shoe because they were so on sale because nobody was buying these size 9, 6-inch, baby pink platform boots. So it was only the display size. So the one that was on display, the leather around the ankles is so much more broken in. And then the shoe that was in the box is not at all. And I was like, I need to make these more even. So I'm literally walking around my house in 6-inch platform boots.
Are you just walking around in one of them so that way they become even though?
No, they're in both. Okay,
of them. If I were you, I would just wear the thicker socks, soak them in vodka. I've heard.
I have heard that. I
Yeah.
tell you, I'm seeing parts of my house I've never seen before, like the top of my microwave. It's the weirdest fucking thing. I open the fridge, I can see the tops of jars. I don't know what to do with this because now in these heels, I'm 5'7". It's very odd to me. But my proportions haven't changed, obviously. So my torso is still like short. And then I have like gazelle legs. It's very funny to me.
We joke that like we have a tall person house because we put a lot of things up above the shelves in our house. And so like my mom comes over and she's like, can you just get the peanut butter for me?
That's delightful.
Someday I'll be the shortest one in the house too. And I'm 5'9".
Yeah. My 6-year-old nephew comes up to my shoulders. It's ridiculous. Yeah, he's going to be gigantic. Maybe he'll play sports. I hope he does not. He plays soccer. He's now into baseball. His parents have said he's not going to be playing hockey. One, because you're right, it's fucking expensive. But two, they just don't want him playing hockey. Because my sister-in-law doesn't like to be cold. I don't think she could survive the arenas. And I think my brother just has like PTSD from having to be dragged to arenas for 12, 15 years while I played. So sorry about it.
One of my kids' best friends is like a travel hockey team, and they have to travel up to Canada all the time for different tournaments and stuff. And it's like so much work. And my kid hears about those travels and he's like, Mom, that sounds cool. I'm like, how about we stick with swimming where I get to sit inside in the winter?
Yeah,
and it's very warm. And you know what you have to buy for swimming is goggles and jammers, and then that's it.
Yeah, not like $600 of hockey equipment
plus
all your rink fees. It's ridiculous.
Oh my God! Right.
Anyway,
okay, so wrapping up on our Elle Kennedy him the deal, new adult, sports, gay, romance,
back to school.
What do you ship the most about either of these books or about this genre?
I am going to say generally it's the idea of he falls first and he falls bigger, because I do think that also applies to him with Wes, because he is like, he knows, whereas Jamie is still figuring some stuff out. But really with Garrett, again, I do not read straight romance that much, but it really did give me shades of like Just for the Summer. I can't remember that character's name. Ryan? Kurt? I don't remember. That guy.
Justin. Justin and Emma in Just for the Summer.
Yeah, Justin had
Just for the Summer for Justin.
There you go. But I just love that idea where he's I'll call him, he's the pursuer in a way that does not feel ick. In a way that doesn't feel like, pursue. No, I don't love that. Don't be creepy. But the way he talks to her and like brings her out. I love how he gives Hannah a nickname, calls her Wellesley. And I'm just like, that's such a hockey thing to do. But I think, yeah, for me, is Garrett that I shipped the most. And I liked that he had more depth in his character than I expected.
Yes.
And I really, really loved it.
I think that was my biggest takeaway the second read through was just how nuanced and interesting Garrett was. I think I hadn't read enough the first time that I read it to realize just how well done he was.
Beautiful.
I think my favorite thing was being in Lake Placid. You know, it's a couple hours from my house. It's not right
it's
around
New
the
York,
corner.
right? I keep thinking, what's California? Tahoe? Is Tahoe?
Tahoe is, that's on like the California-Nevada border.
I always get Lake Tahoe and Lake Placid mixed up. Which one is the horror movie about the gigantic sharks or something that eat people? Is that Lake Placid?
No, Lake Placid is. I mean, maybe. I
think there's a horror movie called Lake Placid, and it involves like weird genetically mutated sharks. Anyway, I'm sorry. Please,
but no, it's like Lake Placid is like Miracle on Ice. That 1980, Olympic big deal thing. But it's a couple when we used to live in Saratoga Springs, where my books are written, where they're based. Lake Placid is about 2 hours north of there. So, but just like seeing a little upstate New York representation in books, where usually if things are in New York, they're in the city. So it's nice to see people coming upstate a little bit.
Oh, actually, Lake Placid is not a gigantic shark. It's a gigantic alligator. Which is also weird because they said it should not be there because of the saltwater, freshwater thing. You're welcome. 1999 comedy horror film with Bill Pullman, Bridget Fonda, Oliver Platt, and Betty White. I saw it like many, many years ago. Okay, that's awesome.
All right. Oh, do you want to do the final roundup? Or the pre-wound-up roundup? Or should we just leap into the shipping?
I think we should just go right into shipping.
All right, so Nikki, what are you shipping this week? I know you've got to have something good. It's been a couple of weeks since we recorded, so you probably have a backlog of opportunities to discuss.
I reread a lot of books the last couple of weeks, so I am shipping Amy Nicole Walker's 0 Hour and her Savannah series. So the 0 Hour one is the first trilogy, and it's Lock and Key, who are two police detectives who are made partners, and they both have some issues. It's Sawyer and Royce. They both have issues. One of them was like forcibly outed at his last job. The other one, his partner, kills himself right before the start of the series. And they're kind of thrown together into this like serial killer, investigatory, policey type stuff. There's lots of cases that they go through. And they're just such great characters. How they bond and become friends is great. So the first trilogy is about them. There's actually 2 more trilogies involving them afterwards. The second one is Matrimonies and Mayhem or something like that. And now the third trilogy, which book 2 just came out, is about them becoming parents. It's like Fatherhood and Felonies, I think is the name of it. But in between that, you meet all these other characters, like a reporter, a private investigator, a GBI, like Georgia Bureau of Investigation officer, who kind of like becomes friends with the guys and show up a lot. They get their own series called Sinister in Savannah, because everything takes place in Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah.
Because they have a podcast called Sinister in Savannah, where they collectively dig into like cold cases, popular true crime type of things. And then each of their books obviously follows their own relationship, but also different cases that they're working on. Then Royce and Sawyer also pop up in those books. And then there's 2 side spinoffs from the series, Bad at Love, and I can't remember the name of the other one. But I basically just reread all of those in the last week or so. And I just really like it. I do like a suspense police procedural that has a lot of like romance in it. So if you also like thrillers and suspense and kind of serial killer type stuff, it really reminded me of the Fair series by Josh Lanyon, Fair Play, Fair Game. I don't remember the name of the third one. Like this idea of a cop and his former romantic interest who left the FBI to become a professor, and they're dealing with a serial killer is kind of the running thing between the 3 books. It's very similar vibes to that. So if you're looking for a procedural and a huge universe to dive into, check out the Savannah Universe, I'll call it, by Amy Nicole Walker. What about you, Meg? What are you shipping this week?
Well, I wasn't actually sure coming into this, but I just mentioned this book, so I feel like I should ship it because that way I'll give the name, because I forgot what the name of it was. So I am shipping In the Game, a secret baby hockey romance by Sloane St. James. It is the 3rd book in the Lakes hockey series. I shipped book 1 of this series, I don't know, a couple months ago, which is Before We Came, which was the one where someone was kidnapped from Niagara Falls and like moved to Vancouver. You remember what I talked about that?
Vaguely, yeah.
And then she moved back to Minnesota when she discovered that her family still existed. And so this is that same series. It's the same hockey team. But this one in particular is this character, Barrett, had a one-night stand with a woman named Raleigh. It was a one-night stand, and then she found out, you know, a couple weeks later that she was pregnant. She tried to contact him, and like somehow she could not get in touch with him, but she thought she got in touch with him. And we know as the readers that like the PR manager sabotaged their relationship. So 5 years later, they finally meet up again, and she sees him, or he sees her with a kid that looks just like him. And they have to bring it back together. But in that time, he's been thinking about her and trying to get over her, and he can't. And so he starts this charitable organization that gives hockey equipment to low-income kids because Raleigh had been a hockey player who couldn't afford to continue playing hockey. So that was what reminded me about it, and I really loved it. I loved the whole series. It's a 4-book series, and then there's a spin-off for some of the other characters who go into reality TV, which I did not read because I'm not a big reality TV reader, but I probably would because I'm always also not like the hugest hockey person.
Beautiful. And that is it for this week, and that is it for this month, because September is done now. Passage of time, not only 20 years or 10 years for these books, and 20 years for She's the Man before that.
Oh, God.
I know. It's I'm having feelings. But if you would like to support the show and give us an A++ so we can pass our midterm exams, we would definitely appreciate it. There's a couple free ways you can support us. Number 1, follow us on social media. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Substack, and the Instagram at First Dates and Soulmates. And the best thing you can do for us is to head on over to your podcast provider of choice, principally Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave us a rating, a review. Be sure to subscribe. It helps us get put in front of more people who can hear our beautifully structured and intelligent discussions about romance, and that would make us feel nice. If you do have a little extra money to spend, two things you can do there as well. First is head on over to our TeePublic store. Link is in the comments, and check out some of our merch, stickers, tote bags, t-shirts, hats, mugs, all available for you. Some of our most popular sayings. And if you have some money that you would like to share with us on a recurring basis, you can subscribe to the show on Substack, $7 a month. Helps support the show and all the work that Meg and I put into it. And we would also greatly appreciate that. Woohoo! What do we have coming up next week? Coming up next week, we're kicking off October, a month of spooks and scares and weird tentacly things in places where tentacles usually aren't are. And we're talking about vampires. Like, why? Why? That's next week. Okay, bye.
Bye.